What's up, you guys? Today's animated series review is about one of the most iconic, self-disciplined, and well-known martial artists who not only was in the army and starred in many movies but became an internet sensation as well. And I'm talking about Chuck Norris in Chuck Norris Karate Kommandos. Karate Kommandos, the animated series, aired in 1986, consisting of barely one season, or if you want to call it, a mini-series with only 5 episodes. The story focuses on a group of heroes or warriors called the Karate Kommandos, led by Chuck Norris himself, who works as an agent in the United States government. Their job is to stop an evil organization called VULTURE, led by Claw and his ninjas, from dominating the world. Within the Karate Kommandos, we have Chuck Norris, the leader of the group, and as to no surprise, was voiced and produced by him. Too Much, a young kid who tags along on all the adventures. Pepper, the only female and technician/mechanic of the group. Reed, Pepper's brother and Chuck's apprentice. TABE, a champion of sumo wrestling. And KIMO, a samurai warrior. But then you also have Tank, who only appeared in the last episode. As for Vulture, you have Claw, the leader of the villains who happens to have a metal claw on his right hand. Super Ninja, whose sole purpose is to annihilate Chuck Norris and serves as Claw's right-hand man. However, those are the only 2 main villains of the show, as for the rest are more sidelined for individual episodes, like the ninjas and their ninja leader, Angelfish, the Imposter, Croc, Tanaka, and the Voodoo Doctor. Before every episode, you get a brief synopsis of the story told by none other than Chuck Norris himself in what seems to be his personal gym. After the episode's over, it goes back to Norris giving the audience some sort of lesson to be learned using real-life scenarios. Throughout the show, each episode consists of various plots and situations involving both groups. With this being an extremely short series, little to no information is given as to how this group was formed, what are their individual origin stories, or how the Vulture even came to exist, or what it even stands for. Despite the lack of information, at least the show somewhat does its best to give you nothing but action as soon as it starts. Thankfully, we get to see Chuck Norris do what he does best, and that's taking numerous amounts of high risks, some that don't even make sense, and performing dangerous stunts like we're used to seeing in Walker, Texas Ranger, all to accomplish the mission they're set out for. Other than Chuck Norris, the rest of the characters don't really have much to offer other than being a slight backup or a helping hand, and when looking at them as a whole, they all just look extremely out of place in a really odd-looking group regardless of their backgrounds. The little kid Too Much basically is that kid who gets told to not do something, does it anyways, gets everyone in trouble or into serious predicaments, but eventually turns out to be a huge help to win in victory. In regards to the villains, they're as cliché as they can get, always having an agenda with some invincible, bulletproof plan to steal a top-secret device that eventually fails and falls through due to the heroes, thus leading them to escape and swearing to have vengeance. Claw basically doesn't really do much, as he mostly watches everything through a computer screen and within his secret hideout has a death trap chair for anyone who fails his missions as a result of instant death. As for Super Ninja, who has multiple encounters with Norris but always loses and promises that the next time he sees him will be his last. The ninjas are just as you'd expect, basically practice dummies that never have the right aim when shooting a gun or fighting, and just about every villain in the episode speaks with some type of grunt or anger. Whenever there's a scene when someone falls, instead of being knocked out into the ground, you see them tuck and roll or enable a parachute to indicate they're still alive. As for the story goes, the episodes don't really continue from one another, other than its basic dilemmas from Vulture on how to stop the heroes. This is definitely one of those shows where you don't need to think, as it's just for easy watching with not much meaning driven into it other than the great nostalgia that old cartoons had with its entertainment. Surprisingly enough, I actually did enjoy watching the show, and by the time it was over, I really did want more episodes and possibly more seasons. I believed it had potential to an extent which really gave it that 80s vibe of great animation, enjoyable action and voice acting, with the exception of clumsy dialogue and weak storylines. There's not enough episodes to decide what my favorite would be, but without a doubt, immediately knowing that Chuck Norris was going to be my favorite character alongside his famous red, well-equipped dangerous Corvette in various outfits. One of the funniest things about this show is the intro. The amount of times it states Chuck Norris's name is absolutely insane. The narrator basically says his name 9 times, enough to the point where it becomes really annoying, but just another reason to love it as well. Karate Kommandos, the animated series, is certainly something everyone should see. You can't really go wrong with only 5 episodes, as by the time you're done with it, you'll realize that it just abruptly ends with no indication what happens to Vulture, Claw, and Super Ninja among the rest of the villains. There wasn't a clear sign indicating that the war was over, especially with all of them escaping before even being caught. Despite its mixed reviews and not being able to be picked up for a series, I personally have this little craving inside for just a few more episodes or a full season to feel complete. Therefore, Chuck Norris, Karate Kommandos, the animated series, gets a C+/B-. Thanks for watching, give a like and subscribe for more animated series reviews, and stay tuned for the next episode.